What's up, everybody? So, back with another episode. Today, I have a gentleman who, truthfully, I've kind of watched blossom from the moment that we met. We've been working together for, I would say, it's coming up on like 3 months now, and he's been absolutely crushing it. But I brought him to the stage because not only do I think he's a great salesperson, but also think he's just a wonderful human, just based off our conversations that we've had. And I think he understands business, especially for kind of where he's at. So, none other, Robbie, I appreciate you for hopping on today, brother.
Of course, thanks for having me here.
Of course, brother. All right, cool. So hopping right in, for the people that don't know, like how did you get into the life insurance space?
Yeah, so his hometown friend kind of saw, like most people, saw his stories blowing up and everything like that. I'm just like, what are these people doing? And kind of just got into it from there.
Got you. And did you have any previous sales experience before you got into the life insurance space?
Not really sales experience. I used to do landscaping, like running my own business, and I did like a few times I'd go up and knock on just random people's doors and just kind of ask if, they need any landscape work done. Other than that, that's all I've done for sales.
Okay, cool, cool. All right, so for the people, when you first got into the life insurance space, I like asking this. How was take us back a little bit. How was your first 30 days?
I would say it's good. No complaints really, but not anything special really.
And then in terms of when you first started dialing, were you doing like age leads to start? Did you go straight to fresh leads like when you were a brand new agent? Like what did that look like for you, or how many leads did you buy, or how was kind of your experience like that first 30 days in terms of the initial leads that you started working?
So first week I was dialing age leads and that was just provided by my upline. And then after that, pretty much after my first week, I started getting my own and kind of going from there.
Started doing that. Okay. So I'm a new agent and I'm watching this age leads. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience with them, pros, cons, what agents should expect if they're like, hey, I'm just buying a, it doesn't even matter from what company, but just in general, like what did you learn from that experience with working age leads?
So there's nothing wrong with them. A lead is a lead at the end of the day. I mean, some people say the lead's only as cooked as you are. Pretty much treat all leads the same, whether it just came in a few minutes ago or it's aged from months ago. I'm going in with the same mindset. This person, needs insurance and just going from there.
Yeah. You went 1 week and then transitioned into fresh. What was that conversation or like, how did you get to that? Because that's a pretty quick jump for a lot of people. But I guess how did you get to that point from being like, hey, like I got it down to just going straight into fresh? Was it like, did your upline prompt that? Did you just say like, hey, I want to do it? Or because I get a lot of people who are afraid to go from age to fresh leads. I guess what was that moments for you?
It wasn't anything crazy. I mean, I just bought some more fresh final expense leads, which they're not even that expensive anyways. They were kind of popping off at the time everyone was getting them, so it kind of just felt like I should go for it.
Got you. And was that your first? So obviously, well, for the people that don't know, he does like vet leads, right? But I want to talk about what other lead types have you worked and why do you feel like, or do you feel like vets have been like your most successful? I guess tell us a little bit about the different lead types that you worked and kind of maybe the pros and cons to them.
Yeah, so the first start off on IULs
Hmm.
and was pretty much working those. So like when I got into the industry back in February, up until I'd say almost August, I was 80% IULs. I'd mix in like the first fresh pack I bought that was final expense, but pretty much I was just running all IULs and was doing pretty well off them. But I after that I made the switch over to more final expense and right now veterans. I just feel like personally for myself, the persistency with a more final expense, just life insurance based lead has worked just better for myself. Nothing against IULs, but at the end of the day, when it comes to building value, it's a bit easier to build value on, hey, if you pass away, your family needs this money versus just an IUL kind of investment type of thing.
Right, right. And that's such an interesting approach. And we have like tons of people who hop on here, and we typically hear from people. It's like, hey, actually, I want to get away from that. I don't want to do vets. I don't want to do final expense. I don't love that demographic. Whereas you're thought process is different, and I actually think that's really unique. Can you explain the hurdle from, or was there a hurdle going from vet leads? I'm sorry, IULs, I apologize, to final expense or to veterans now that you're doing now? Like, did you have any struggles or issues, or was it like something that was relatively seamless for you?
So it was definitely a big jump, a big hurdle, because the way I would run IULs is basically read the script, just explain like, hey, like here's what the IUL does, blah blah blah, kind of just hyping it up, and no no really building value, that sort of thing. I mean, you can try, but it's tough. So then moving on to final expense, really building the value, having to be more assumptive with the sale. It was a pretty big transition.
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand that. And I think that's a good like point that you just hit on. That's super valuable. Is knowing like the demographic. Question, I know this is pertinent in you all's office because you guys absolutely crush it, but can you walk somebody through like what is a veteran lead? Because I have people who literally, they're not in, said companies, we won't mention names, but like they're not in the, that IMO or that company. So they're like veterans. What is that? Can you walk somebody through like what is a veteran lead and or kind of like what makes it different than like a regular final expense lead?
Yeah, so it's funny. When I first came in the business, I heard some people were running veterans. And I was like, wait, do we like have veterans discounts, or do we have special things for veterans? I like had no idea. But a veteran lead is just pretty much a final expense lead. That's just, protection, just death benefit focused, but it is a veteran. So it's just the niche. So I know you are coming out, or there's a bunch of different ones, whether it's nurses, people in the trades, truckers, all that sort of thing. Everything is just a niche. And what's good specifically with veterans is that their monthly income is typically a little bit more than someone who's just, a regular final expense lead, someone that's just on Social Security. A veteran, most of the time or a lot of the time they're disabled. So they're getting, a little bit more funding from, income wise.
Right. Do you feel like the demographic in and of themselves, I've heard from people when you talk to veterans, it has to be different in terms of like scripting, tonality. Do you feel like that's a difference, or do you think that it's relatively the same?
So script is very similar. When it comes to tonality, I mean, everyone has their own tonality. It's not like, oh, you need to sound like this person, but just the way you say it. So being more professional, straight up with them. Try to not have commission breath and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's just being very straightforward with them tends to work better.
Yeah, no, 100%. Perfect. So I want to transition more into you, and you absolutely crushing it. So for the people before we hop in, can you tell them, I actually don't know what you did last month off of the veteran leads that we're generating for you?
Yeah, it was like 37,000, I think.
Amazing. And is that in issue pay or is that in submit?
That was submit in December, and it was pretty much halfway through the month. Once I went away for like 2 weeks for vacation and didn't really work. So if I were to kept that going, it probably would have been a lot more.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because then what did you do the month before? It was like the same thing in November, or was it a little bit higher?
It was pretty close to the same.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's crushing it, y'all. He was like gone for a while. So that's all we'll say there. But okay, cool. So I want to hop into one of the more important things is your schedule. Now, I think a lot of people don't take their schedule serious, but I know that you work relentlessly, bro. Like you're a dog. So could you walk people through like they're like, "Hey, I want to do 30, 40, 50K, whatever it is." I guess what is your routine, brother? What are the things that aren't tangible? We're going to get into the script, but I want to know like for the person watching, like what can they do outside of just calling that can help put them in the best situation in terms of like when do you get up, how do you approach your day, how you kind of go through that process?
Yeah, so everyone's is going to be different. Just for me, I usually get up pretty early, go to the gym, just get that done out of the way. I think it sets, everything a lot better for the whole day, clears your mind, and just starting your day with, achieving something. And then I get to the office usually 7:30, 7:45. Get settled in. We have sales training. So whoever's crushing it, who's ever doing good that week, going over everything. And then I'm on the phones at 9, just ripping. Usually I do 2 dial blocks. So I'm doing at least from 9 to 1. Take a little break, catch up on back end work, call carriers, that sort of thing, call clients. And then 4 to 8, I'm back on the phones, just ripping the rest of the day.
So that's the thing. So you work past 6 o'clock, right?
You have to.
So I say that because I have so many like clients that are like, yeah, stop dialing at 6. I'm like, bro, what? Like it makes no sense to me. And then they ask how people are. So I'm like, the amount of pickups and booked appointments and prezzies you get from 6 to 8. I mean, you know this is astronomical, bro.
Yeah.
Cool. So with these leads, are you booking appointments or are you doing one call close? What's your process for that?
Most of the time, it's just one call close. I will set appointments. Like I had one this morning. I think I set 2 appointments this morning. Just try to solidify that as best as you can because sometimes there's nothing you can do. But most of the time, most of my sales, it's just call to close.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now let's talk about mindset. When you're, and I like asking this question because you have a unique situation, so you'll be able to answer this. You were away for 2 weeks. You obviously the leads kept rolling in. I want to know how you look at leads. This is super important. How do you look at a drip lead? So a lead just we're on the phone or you stop, and the lead comes in. How do you look at that lead versus you have a list of leads, which in your situation you do now, you were gone for a little bit. You have this bulk of leads. Like, how do you work those leads different is my question. Like, how do you work the drip lead differently than you work, hey, it was the weekend, I was away and I've gotten, 15 leads. What's your approach to that, bro?
Yeah. So not sure if this is what you mean, but when I call a lead that came in 2 minutes ago, or if it's the first lead on the pack and they still
Correct.
haven't picked up yet,
Correct. Yeah.
it'll sound identical. Someone next to me, they'll have no idea on my intro whether I'm calling a fresh lead or it's, from months ago. Just because I think not just specifically with the veterans, I mean, mostly them, but I think sometimes people can kind of call your BS. So if you're like, hey, yeah, one of my guys, they should have got out to you, blah, 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 or that if you try to kind of sleaze your way through the intro, I mean, sometimes it works, but every time someone picks up and I run the intro, it's the exact same. Hey, yep, this is Robbie Webb giving you a call about this, and then confirm a piece of their information and just sound super professional. And a lot of the time, I think that just works better because if someone calls me and they're kind of like, yeah, one of my guys or this was supposed to get out to the house, like I know, like, yeah, no one was supposed to do that. No one was like,
Right.
so I think being very straight up professional on the intro is a big thing.
Yeah, no, 100%. So let's talk about the intro. If you could for the people, just what is your intro? Are you calling from the veterans, whatever, or how do you approach calling the leads? If you could demo that for a newer agent that may be like, hey, what's the best intro script to use on these leads?
Yeah, so I started off doing like the kind of naming the branded thing. So in this case, American Guardian Group. Some people are up late filling these forms out and they don't remember. So I kind of stopped doing that because some people are like, "Oh, American Guardian Group, what is that?" Which is
Right.
which is fine. So I'll just kind of do it with you. I just call and say, "Oh, hello, Trey.
Yeah.
Hey, Trey, this is Robert Webb. Just giving you a call about the request you submitted for the veteran's final expense and life insurance. You listed your spouse as the beneficiary. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Now, was your main concern, like most veterans, just making sure that the funeral expense doesn't fall a burden on your loved ones?
Yeah, that, and I wanted to make sure that I could have like some extra money for our kids.
Okay, perfect. Want to leave some additional funds behind. So I'll be the gentleman to go over that with you and then give my credentials and go from there.
Got you. So you just keep it even kill, straightforward. You're not, calling and saying anything super drastic on the intro, which is the way it should be, to be honest with you, which is
Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah, I've heard what a lot of people do wrong is they change up their intro a whole bunch and they're like, "Oh, this isn't working. That's not working." It's like, "No, you just haven't stuck to one thing long enough." Because if you keep changing up, you don't know what works and what doesn't. Versus if you just do the same thing every time, then you're good to go.
Right. Your money. How do you pitch options?
Pitching options, that starts earlier. So, like, you want to obviously know their financial situation, their budget, that sort of thing. And if they're kind of gauge how, like, what's their monthly income, how much they left off with. If they're left off with $200, I'm pitching them like five or 10,000, like very little. But if they're left off with 1,000, 2,000, or decent bit more at the end of the month, then obviously I'm going to pitch them much more. But also based off what their goals are. So even if they make a ton of money, then but they just want to cover cremation or just want to cover burial, they didn't want to leave behind anything extra. I won't over or upsell them. I'll just pretty much pitch them what they're looking for. But as far as pitching, I have them jot down gold, silver, and bronze on a piece of paper, and then whatever the coverage amounts may be, I'm having them write down 30, 20, and 10. And then usually it's gold option, guarantees full cost of funeral and leave additional funds behind. And for the 30,000 gold option, it'll be, you know, say $200. And then silver option, this is a state recommended amount. It's what most people go with. This covers or incorporates for the inflation side of things, because obviously the price of a funeral today isn't the same as what it's going to be in, say, 10, 20 years from now. So for the silver option, it's 150. And then bronze option, this will get your foot in the door since you don't have anything as of today, just making sure the basic expenses are covered. And for the bronze option of 10,000, it'll be $100, that sort of thing.
Got you. Got you. So you are attaching the value to the amount. You're not just like, hey, it's 10, 20, 30. You're like, hey, it does this, it does that. And yeah, that makes sense why you close more. That's something that I think is really undervalued sometimes is like people are like, I write such small premiums. Like, dude, you don't attach any value to the premium that you're trying to close them on. So of course you're not going to sell big premiums. Like it doesn't make any sense. So that's good to hear. Okay, transitioning kind of towards the second half of this. I want you to explain to people, this is important, the process of running ads. You have been a part of an agency. I talked to Bryson about this too. You've been a part of an agency that has had some people do really well and some people not, which is fine. And we're super transparent, by the way, too, bro. So, like, I'm not one of those, yeah, everything's perfect. Everything's not perfect. If you're watching, right, you can do really well with us, but you could also do not well with us. And there's factors that play into it. But I want you to explain kind of your process with the ads and what an agent that's starting working with us that's getting set up on like the drip campaign, the branded stuff. Can you walk, and you can be as transparent as you want to, brother. Can you walk them through their expectations? Because I want them to hear from you, not from me, in terms of what does that look like and what should their expectations be for like this thing optimizing and growing, bro.
Yeah, so for me, it might be, I'm not entirely sure. It might be slightly different just because I started around the holidays. And I mean, that was when ads were most expensive and lead flow might have been a little bit slower. So, like, off the start for myself, the lead flow was a little bit slow. And, but that didn't really change anything. Like, throughout my whole pretty much path since I started back in February, I just had the shiny object syndrome bouncing from one lead company to another. And I was like, yeah, I'm not just gonna hop off this right away if it's not perfect, because I mean, nothing is. And I've realized that from other lead vendors and stuff. But as far as kind of starting off, I mean, wasn't really, nothing was really going wrong. I mean, I closed, I think my first ever lead I closed. And from there, that kind of had my mindset of like, all right, close my first lead, like what really needs to optimize, other than whether that was around the holidays and ad cost was up a little bit or who knows what, but just closing my first lead, I was like, all right, yeah, no, we should be all right.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. Well, I will say for the people, Robbie is being very modest about it, which I appreciate about his character, but it started out slow for him. And he did close his first lead, but it was like kind of this kind of like up and down. And, he was super transparent and also communicative with the process, which in my opinion is the reason why, you were able to get to and through that initial momentum. And now it's like, okay, now we're just rocking because that's a part of it. But he asked a lot of questions. And I always tell people like, when you partner up with us and we are running your ads, it's a little bit different than you buying leads from us. Because when you just buy leads, we just give you leads. It's like anybody else. But when we start running ads and we start customizing things, you can ask questions. So I'm sure when he started versus now, his perspective, even on ads and how they optimize, and some days he'll get like 12 leads, the next day he gets one or none. And he has a much better understanding of it, which is super cool. So last thing, and really the floor is yours. Somebody's asking like, hey, I'm about to start working with Agent Lead Lab. What should their expectations be? Or like, what information could you give them about like, hey, this is kind of what the process is like working with Trey, the team, etc.
Just kind of like what has my experience been working with you guys or
Correct.
okay. Yeah, so I mean, it's been solid. I mean, kind of like you said, I've been transparent, just communicating has been one of the bigger things. Just saying, here's what's not working, here's what's working. What can we do to, achieve XYZ is the biggest thing because there may be a lot of, or other lead companies, and there have been others that I've worked with that they kind of just give you leads and say, see you later. But being able to actually work through if there are any problems and just, you know, have the level of communication to actually, build off of results.
Right. Right. No, 100%. And that is like the theme we try to make sure everybody experiences, regardless of what's going on. If you communicate, everything can be solved. If you don't, I don't know. And the team doesn't know, so we can't help you. But if you let us know, we can always pivot, make adjustments, change things because there's nothing new under the sun. Everybody who's in the life insurance game is getting leads from the same places, the same platforms. It's just who has the better team and or the people that can explain how to work the leads better and put you in the best situation and what opportunity makes the most sense for you, right? And then you just ride
Yeah.
the wave and figure it out.
And
So
that's another thing I was going to say is pretty much almost all the leads are the same. Like you just said, they're all coming from the internet, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. Like at the end of the day, a lead is a lead. If you gave me a lead from a year ago or a fresh lead, like I'll close either one. It's the same thing. A big thing is just the mindset you have going into it. If you have a negative mindset, like if you have a bad experience and you're just negative about it the whole time, like nothing's going to get better. But if you take that and turn it into a positive and try to at least grow from it, then that's better than most because mindset is just one of the biggest things with it.
it's the most important thing, brother. It's the most important thing. Well, man, I appreciate it. I don't know if you don't have anything else for them. I appreciate you for taking some time today to hop on. And yeah, if anybody wants to get in contact with you, as always, you guys can go to our website. You'll see the little contact us button. You can click that. If you like what Robbie was saying, you might want to work with him, reach out to one of us. We'll reach out to him and see, what he's got going on. I'm sure he'll be building or growing and maybe he could give you some game, or if not, you could come work with him as well. So yeah, we appreciate everybody. And outside of that, Robbie, thank you for your time, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Later.